I think I just fundamentally believe that if you want to build a brand 2024, 2025 and beyond, it has to be with influencers.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Today's episode is all about influencer marketing and outreach and prospecting effectively and simplifying what could be very complicated of a process while not investing in enterprise level softwares and spending a bunch of money before you start making any money back. I'm in Costa Rica, so I wanted to still do this episode because I think it's super important to connect you with Yash Chavan, who is the founder of getsaral.com, which is an influencer marketing platform that allows you to prospect, search, outreach, track, pay, gift, everything you need to do with influencers to be profitable and successful long-term, and to simplify it so that you don't have to work in sheets and that you're not using a bunch of different softwares, but you're not also paying 50 to 100K for an influencer marketing platform, which is sometimes typically the price you're going to pay for the same features and functionality.
Every brand wants to be an actual brand, wants to work with their own unique set of influencers or ambassadors. And that's the behavior that we want to enable.
So we're going to get into a bunch of tactical things you can do to get into the influencer marketing world, how to be successful, but also how to streamline it using a software that is very inexpensive for what you get out of it. So let's get into today's episode. All right, on today's podcast, I have my friend Yash Chavan, and we're going to be talking influencer stuff. We're going to be talking influencer platforms. So welcome, Yash, to the podcast.
Excited to be here, Joey, and chatting with you. So yeah, let's do it. Let's talk about influencer stuff.
I'm excited. You're like the only guy that I know that's probably more versed in influencer marketing than I feel like I am some days. I've been watching your newsletters. I've been checking out your software, and I was just like, finally, somebody that gets it. So I'm excited to get into all that stuff today. But before we get into it, just what's something interesting about yourself that maybe not a lot of people know?
That's something interesting. I love training MMA. I don't know if that's interesting, but I know that you were into bodybuilding, Joey, if I'm not wrong. I did my stalking. But yeah, I got into that, but then I fell in love with MMA, and I didn't know a lot of SaaS founders who are into martial arts, but I think it's a great discipline to have. So
it is.
I like it.
I love that, and it's either usually it's martial arts or it's artistic, like music stuff. As far as entrepreneurs go, I've seen both sides of the equation. That's cool. How long have you been in that for? Like how many years?
About three years now. Yeah.
Okay. Nice.
Yep.
I never did that, but I did do the bodybuilding because if you search my name, you're going to see like me in underwear, bikinis, and also ripped back in the day.
Yeah.
But I'm a wide spectrum of characters. But that's cool. I mean, first off, you and I met with, Get Saral, which we're going to talk about later, which is the software you guys use to prospect, outreach influencers, and meet at a fraction of the cost as to what other companies are charging with all the same deliverabilities. But I really want to talk through like why something like this is necessary and kind of build out that, a history as to why I'm looking for something like this and who's probably characterized in the same place that I'm in the business and who should qualify for that. But walk us through, I mean, MMA being one of your past things or current things, how did you get started in this industry? Because it seems like you've got a lot of knowledge in influence marketing.
Yeah, kind of just fell into it by accident or is this quote that says necessity is the mother of all invention. So I started off in sales. So my career has been in sales. And then long story short, I was running my own agency. Primarily, acquisition 4 or 5 years ago was primarily, paid media. So Google and Facebook ads. But then when the whole privacy update happened and iOS 14.5, ads really started crashing. 2021, around middle of that. So we really wanted to pivot into something else. So it was like, okay, where else do we drive traffic from if Facebook has stopped working, right? Because that would mean killing the agency or pivoting. So obviously we had to pivot. Fortunately, somehow, some of our brands that we were working with had a really great word of mouth. So they by default had, people talking about them on socials for no commission, no affiliate, none of that, right? But they just had good word of mouth. So I was like, there's already this behavior that exists. How do we incentivize that behavior so their customers get them more customers? And then that's how, like, let's try influencer/ambassador affiliate marketing, and then just fell into that world. And then we scaled programs to, thousands of influencers for our clients. And then we figured out that, hey, this is very clunky and very messy. So we had all of the makeshift kind of Trello boards and Notion systems in ClickUp, and we tried a bunch of different things. And then it was overwhelming because we had all of these things. It was very people heavy, very, manual. So I went into the market. I was like, there has to be software that does this for us. Like, this is too complicated. Somebody has to have figured this out. And turns out there was software, and we all know that there still exist those companies, but then they were very expensive, very complicated. I didn't want to sign, a $40,000 annual contract with someone for influencer software and train my team on it. Right. So I was like, hey, and there was nothing that was, very SMB friendly. There was nothing that was month to month. There weren't really that many free trials back when I was checking it out. I was like, hey, there's this white space in the market where we could go in. We already had our systems in Notion and Zapier and all these automations. I was like, why don't I make this into a SaaS? And that's how Saral was born. So that's the origin story.
That's awesome. Cool that you have a sales background. Also cool that you've been in the trenches with Trello or Kanban and all these things.
Yeah.
So I think today's conversation, to really, qualify this, is like, you have to be sold, first of all, in influencer marketing. You have to understand that it does work. It's not that it doesn't work or not. It's, how do I manage this? That's the big thing, especially as you start to scale influencers, you start to see it break. And, one of my famous quotes, I say famous, it's just my quote, is that, the system is more important than the software. So regardless of if Saral is awesome or not, your system has to be great. And if your system's not great, you're probably not ready to even invest in something like that yet. But for those of you who are like, hey, I've got influencers, it's working, but like, I want to find more. I want to prospect better. I want to be organized, but I also don't want to pay, to your point, 50 to 100K a year and be locked into a contract. And most people, here's what happened. You sign up for something like that, and we all know the ones that are like enterprise level, and it's like, they're going to promise you everything. You get in there and you're lost. You're like, it's like, you're totally overwhelmed. You're lost. And then you spend like 2 to 3 months just churning, kind of like, how do I do this? And imagine the opportunity cost of that. So, I mean, I think you need to understand influencer marketing. You need to have a system first, and then you get into this particular thing. But walk through, as far as like, before we get into, I want to talk about the features of Saral and everything that's in there, because I do think it's amazing and simple to use, and everything you need at a very bare level, meaning like, it doesn't have the bells and whistles that, you might get with some of the other ones. However, I know you guys are building more stuff, but it's everything you need. But let's walk through like influencer marketing, where it was, and where do you think it's going in the next like 1 to 5 years?
Yeah, I think I would just throw that question right by. I know this is not my podcast. I don't mean to hijack your podcast, but I would actually throw that question back at you, because I want to understand how it was, because you've been doing this for what, like a decade now? Longer? How long has it been for you?
So we started with affiliates in 2015 with the company Now by Optimizers. And then we moved to podcast advertising in 2018, which led to influencer marketing around the same time. So it was really only the past 5 years we've been deep into it. And I would say we're the trailblazers when it comes to coming from a traditional affiliate email marketing company to now branching off an omni-channel podcast, YouTube. And it's all kind of influencers. Like, if you look at the big umbrella, I consider all that influencers. But traditional influencer marketing is like posting, codes, versus the podcast ad where you might have to sponsor it. So that's kind of the background we have.
Correct. No, I think, it'll be good to have like a breakdown of how you've seen the space change even in the last, 5 to 8 years. But I would give you the why I think behind influencer marketing is my vision is that every consumer brand, if you're selling to consumers, you have to work with influencers. It's just as simple as that. Just like, for example, if you're a B2B company, you have to have a sales function almost, right? Like, it's like, you can't be a B2B business and not have a sales department. In a sense, you have to sell. Just like on similar lines, if you're a DTC brand, you have to have an influencer function, because otherwise, I don't even look at brands who are not working with influencers as brands anymore. I think because brand indicates trust, right? And then where is the trust right now? The trust is not on Facebook ads. It's not with paid media. And in fact, people hate ads. The trust is with the influencers, with the experts in your field. It's with the podcasters, with the bloggers, with the creators on TikTok that are making edutainment sort of content, right? So that's where all the trust is. So if you want to build a brand, I think it's just building a brand is just synonymous with influencer now. Like, you have to work with influencers, and that's how I see influencer now, is like, you have to do all of these. And I like your umbrella concept of like, it's not just on about Instagram or TikTok, all these social media platforms. It's also podcasts. It's also bloggers. It's also certain, like some of our health brands also work with actual like clinics who recommend their products, right? So actual like physical doctors' offices, right? So influence, I like to think of it as influence, right? Where are your customers being influenced? And social media, yes, is one part of it. There's podcasts, there's newsletters, there's magazines, there's all these places that you should be at to truly build a brand. So yeah.
Yeah. And that kind of, so I did a talk last December at this mastermind. And one of the quotes that I pulled was like, affiliates sell products, influencers build brands. And literally that is the difference, is like affiliates can always monetize your business for yourself. I look at influencers as who has a face and who's actually known for the recommendation, or who's being followed by somebody. And it doesn't have to be somebody with 1 million followers. It could be practitioners with 1,000 followers who have a really engaged clientele. So I think you have to shift your focus on how you prospect and how you look at influencers, and know that it's a holistic effect of it. Yeah. So the way I look at it is like, it's not Facebook advertising or influencers. It's both, because they feed each other. There's a blended cost per acquisition of a customer you should be looking at as a whole for your entire company. So if you start to look at only influencers and only Facebook ads, a Facebook ad return on ad spend is going to be typically higher than an influencer return, but they feed each other. Yeah. All ships rise. But there is a way to monetize influencers. It's not to say that, because like a lot of people, a lot of agencies, what they give, I've gotten is like, well, it's a brand awareness. Your brand's going to grow. And it's like, what does that mean? Like, so I do measure things, and there's ways to do that, like link tracking, coupon code tracking, combining data. But yeah, I'm glad to hear that. But as far as like, where you see it going is really, if you want to become a brand, you have to start to do influencers. It has to be part of the holistic system. Where do you think people get influencer marketing wrong? Like, what are they doing? And like, from the outside in, maybe even if they're using your software wrong way or prospecting the wrong way, I just want to hear like the fundamental flaws.
Yeah, I think there's so many things that come to mind, but one of the very basic things is they almost treat because most DTC brands, they start off with Facebook ads, right? That's the easiest way to get traffic when you're new. They almost bring this paid media mentality to influencers. They're like, okay, I work with this influencer. I'm going to pay them $200 and they have to generate $400 in sales. Otherwise, influencer marketing does not work. They always bring this like I like to say, transactional mindset to influencer, but it doesn't work. I think it's just that I like to say that the physics of the channel is different. Like, it doesn't work in the same way that paid media does. It's a different soul altogether. So you have to nurture it. You have to build relationships with influencers, which is what I see most new brands that don't necessarily have the fundamentals right. They tend to treat it almost as a transactional. I'll pay for something, I'll get something back instantly as a channel. But influencer is a longer game, right? You have to commit to it for at least 3 to 6 months if you're starting out to see some of that initial traction and results to compound and start coming. That's one of the things that comes to mind. On the very basic level, I think if you avoid making transactions, focus on building relationships. And I think that will compound into something meaningful for you in 3 to 6 months.
And that's different than what people are used to. Because like they would just want to be able to turn on an ad tomorrow. And it's like, I put $1 in, I get $2 out tomorrow, I'm good. Yep. And again, that still exists. But in tandem, you need to change your perspective of how you look at this new channel. It's a longer, like, plant the seeds, the garden grows, and then you can steep, you got to weed the garden, you got to go and pick the fruits or whatever the vegetables. But it is a relationship business. It's not transactional so much. And I would say transactional is actually, if I were to predict where it's going to go down. Rates are going up. The people that are putting the rates up are transactional in nature, meaning they're not tied to your brand. They're not super fans. They don't care about the performance necessarily. So let's talk about the number one question on everyone's mind is, how do you strike good deals, provided that you're treating this like you're nurturing them, you're paying attention, you care about them. First off, how do you prospect people that like would be a genuine fit for your brand? Like, what are you looking for? What are like telltale signs to say, that's a good influencer, or that's maybe not a good like influencer for my business?
Yeah, I like to think about it from a values perspective first. So obviously there's the basics, right? So make sure you have a certain engagement rate, make sure that you're using the right hashtag and so on. But usually, like, on a very core level, if there is no philosophical alignment or a values alignment, then they're not a good influencer. So for example, this actually happened. So there was this skincare brand that we were working with, and they were like this, like a minimal, holistic, organic skincare brand, and they worked with an influencer. And then they posted about the brand and so on. And then a couple of weeks later, the same influencer posted about a makeup company. Now, are those, it's still skincare, like it's in a way beauty, right? It's the same industry, but organic, minimalistic skincare is different from, applying tons of makeup on your face, right? Both have their places, both are right. There's no values judgment here, but if you're an organic skincare company, make sure you work with influencers who care about, natural skincare, looking good naturally as opposed to, putting on makeup. So that example kind of illustrates what I look for in influencers is I would look for, their past collaborations, see even if they haven't done any collaboration, see what they post about, see how they think about certain topics or certain values that you care about, right? If you're let's say, for example, you're a vegan fitness company, don't post about somebody who, don't work with somebody who, posts about eating chicken breast all day, right? Like it doesn't fit fundamentally, even though they're into fitness, don't work with them. So I think there has to be this values alignment that you need to check first as a very fundamental basis. And then there's the usual, 101 tips of, make sure you use the right hashtags, make sure they hit a certain engagement rate in location and so on. So
Yeah, I like that. And I refer to it as like an affinity brand. So you don't want 5 makeup companies involved in this person's world. You want one per category. So, if it's somebody who values like eco-friendly, well, they're valuing an eco-friendly supplement for their sleep, an eco-friendly product for their face, but they're not advertising for 5. Because then it's like, which one do I pick? There's guys recommend me all these different types. But something else you mentioned that I think it's worthwhile. I always ask people, like, what's your objective with influencers? And most people say it's sales, but it could also be UGC content for Facebook ads. So just know that we're talking 2 different worlds here. I think that like to hire an actor, I don't call these influencers anymore. These are just literally actors for hire. Just you can go and get them transactional, say what I want you to say the script, and I'm going to use it in an ad. That's not influencer marketing. And as far as I'm concerned, it's a form of it, but it's more of like just a marketing play in general. So that's a really important thing to note, because as we segue to the next question I have for you, this is where it becomes very difficult and challenging for companies. Because first off, they don't know what to pay an influencer. Even if it is somebody aligned with values, they might still want a flat rate. They might want a CPM that it's like, is that comparable to my Facebook CPMs? And how do I determine if it's good or bad? So maybe we start there as far as like what price ranges do you see for influencers and what they're charging? Now let's talk about how we can negotiate better terms longer term.
Yeah, usually I think, in prices that influencers quote are out of the world, right? So like there's no regulation, there's no rules around that. Could be $2,000 for an Instagram reel, right? There's no set definition there. But the way we like to think about it is I have this concept that I share with my brands called the influencer offer, right? So you have to, it's like the Godfather, right? You have to make them an offer they cannot refuse. So how do you give them something that would compel them to work with you as opposed to your competitors or another brand that has reached out to them? So I like to break it down into 3 parts, the offer. The first part is the incentive for the creator. The second part is an incentive or an offer for their fans who would buy from you. And the third and final part is like, how can you sweeten the deal? So to give you an example of each of these, an incentive for the creator could be, if you're doing affiliate, percentage commission on the sale. An incentive could also be a flat fee, right? So an incentive could be a free product. And depending on the incentive, the strategy differs. So if it's a free product, then it's like the seeding gifting strategy. If it's flat fees as the incentive, then it's the traditional kind of paid influencer. If it's percentage, then it's maybe affiliate, ambassador, those sort of channels. Incentive can also be equity. And then those are like more advanced sort of deeper deals that you would do with creators. Right? So that's the incentive for the creators. So figure out what you can offer. If you have the budget, allocate some budget and maybe do some paid offers. If you don't have the budget, or maybe you want to stick to doing affiliate, have a percentage, which is usually what we recommend brands start with, is like just assign a percentage commission. Then do some sort of an offer for their fan. It can be a discount. It can also be a buy one, get one, something like some sort of a special offer. It could be a special bundle. It could be personalized, like products, anything, right? So it doesn't have, most brands default to discounts, and that's good because it makes things easier to track. But if you don't want to do discounts, there's other ways you can incentivize people to buy from that influencer's link. So that's the second part. And the third part is, how do you sweeten the deal? So everybody is looking for like a community to belong to, some sort of an identity. So I always like to share this example. Gymshark doesn't call their affiliates, calls them athletes. There's a reason for that. They are affiliates, right? In the core sense of it, but they give them an identity, right? So you're now a Gymshark athlete. So that is a perk of being part of their Gymshark athlete program. Sephora calls it Sephora Squad, right? Essentially, it's just affiliate. People want to be associated. People want that hashtag. There's literally videos on YouTube. You can search for how do you become a Gymshark athlete. And then there's like how do you apply and so on. So people that want to be part of that community. So if you give them some sort of a label that they can identify with beyond your brand, like, so even if Gymshark did not exist, those people are still athletes, right? Like they're training, they're working out, they're athletes. They're giving them that label. So if you give some sort of a label, some sort of a, how do you sweeten the deal like that, then you package this offer and reach out to your ideal creators. You're going to get a lot of interest. Yeah.
Those are great. I mean, those three things I think are very powerful for anybody to start implementing and understanding, like as a starting point. To your point, like we call ours the bio family. That's, we still call them influencers, but I don't call that when I'm on a call with them or on the front of house. It's like you're part of the bio family. You're the bio ambassador group. And the other thing too, regarding pricing, because people will still ask like, no, but seriously, how much should I pay them? I think there's two things. One, you have to test. You're going to throw some spaghetti on the wall and see what sticks or what falls off, and you have to like measure the data. That's just marketing 101 or like business 101, anything 101 really. Like, how does this work? What am I getting as feedback? Because what works for someone else may not work for you. So there's that component, but that's scary, I guess. But the relevant thing is understand your business starting point. How much are you willing? I always like to do an investment audit, kind of an investor audit. Like, what level of investor are you? Well, I just want to get started. Okay, well, don't go and start paying people for posts. Like, limit your scope to maybe people with X amount of followers and less. Typically for us, it's like 5,000 or less. They'll want more of an affiliate commission share. But like, you're not ready to go after like a 500,000 follower person unless they truly love your stuff. So understand that you can make different offers for different people. As you're prospecting, your system should change and your pricing should change and your strategy. One other thing too that we've found effective is you have to have an abundance mentality instead of a scarcity. Like, I gave them a bottle. What is it? I would prefer giving products all day long in exchange for posts rather than cash because COGS are a lot less than cash. But I love the fast action stuff too. It's like, hey, if you post this within like 7 days of receiving it, we're also going to give you the next free bottle of the next product or the similar product. And then, if you can give them journeys, depending on your product line, but like, what's the challenge? What's the 30-day journey look like too? We've done sleep challenges. We've done like, kind of 30-day makeovers where the product ties to a benefit and it's a limited, journey window. So those are just a couple extra things, but I want to hear a little bit deeper on the deal negotiation strategy. So you've got somebody that you really love, would be a perfect ambassador, but they still don't know, like, or trust you yet. And it's like, listen, here's my rate card. Just check this out. What are others deeper strategies to get them to take more of a commission-based deal? Like, provided you got to work for this, but like, have you noticed any tactics, strategies from companies or people?
Yeah. I would usually, what we do is we just get their address and we would just ship them product. So we would say, great, that's your rate card. I get it. I just want to send you the free one of our products or sample packs and see if you like it first before we try to negotiate here. Because understand that they don't know you unless you're a large brand, right? Like unless you're like the top 5 brands in your niche, very likely they haven't ever heard of you. So they would likely the influencer is very likely going to take a transactional approach with you, but you need to like come in with the relationships mindset, right? So they would slap a rate card, but then you need to say, okay, great. We're happy to honor that fee. But let me send you a free product. You test it out first. If you like it, then we can talk money and offers and so on. And in most cases, we've seen influencers accept free products, especially if we say that there's nothing we expect. Like, okay, if you don't like it, we don't have to work together, right? So you have that, nothing to lose sort of mentality. Just send free products selflessly, see what they say. And when they have your product, and then some brands might think, okay, well, if I just send them free product, they're just going to get the free product and they're going to still slap the rate card. That does happen sometimes. But in most cases, what happens is if you're assuming you're reaching out to the right type of people, they end up liking your product, your packaging, they like something about your brand, they're more likely to negotiate and come to terms with you, come to the terms that you want, as opposed to, just slapping the rate card like they did. So be patient with it. Send them free product first. Don't try to, negotiate pricing and talk deal structures and so on before they even know what your brand is about or have tried your product and seen results with it. So that's one of the things that we do is like we always send free product first.
Yeah. And you measure like how much should I send? What's the ROI overall as a whole? I mean, you can't just use one instance as like, oh, I'm never doing this again. I sent them a product that didn't post. It's going to happen. It's like it's a game of numbers. So I want to, before we get into the software, I want to just highlight the fact that when we started doing influencer marketing, things exploded. I mean, we started with podcast advertising, which is typically a higher investment profile. Like, it's costly to get in the podcast ads. So it's not to say you have to start there. But what happened was this organic growth, and we couldn't account for it with every influencer as far as being ROI positive. But we knew as a whole we were growing. And there were some cases it was like a 4 or 5x return on ad spend. So, I mean, now it's like kind of turnkey autopilot to a certain degree. Like we still do newsletters, we're still prospecting, finding new people, we're getting referrals from our recommended ambassadors, which is when you get to that level and you have them recommending you to friends, it makes the process so much easier. So like once you build that foundation, I mean, it's incredible what you can do with your business once you crack the code and you get through the pain phase. Pain phase sucks for a little bit, but part of getting through the pain phase is, I mean, I've gotten really good with Sheets. Google Sheets, it's free. You can get really good at filtering. And, I worked in there for the better part of 7-8 years with influencers and podcasts. Now we're at the level we want to kind of scale more and simplify and streamline a bit better. So now, walk us through why a software is better than Sheets. I mean, for obvious reasons, once you see the interface of like Saral, which is the software you guys have for influencer prospecting, outreaching, et cetera. But yeah, like kind of walk us through the pain points you're solving with the features in Saral.
Yeah, I think Sheets are, and this is probably not the best for business thing to say, but Sheets are a great place to start, right? So if you just want to, I understand it's an investment, even if it's month to month, it's an investment, right? So as long as I just want people to commit to doing influencer marketing, right? Because like I said, I think I just fundamentally believe that if you want to build a brand, 2024, 2025 and beyond, it has to be with influencers. Like there's no, like you said, affiliates. What was your quote again? Affiliates sell products, influencers build brands, right? That is just, 100%. So I believe that. So if you want to start with Sheets, I think Sheets are a great place to start. But as you scale, and if you're not as good as Joey is with Google Sheets, you'll start hitting the pain line. Once you have, 40, 50 active influencers, like, you'll probably have them in some sort of an affiliate tool separately organized there. You have all their links in a sheet. You don't know exactly when somebody's making a sale. Relationship management becomes difficult. You don't have full context on where everyone is. If somebody's going to post something in the future, what's happening, you don't have full context. That's when you start needing some sort of a creator relationship management system, which is what Saral is. And there is more than that. So you have your sheet, but then you're having a manual process, which is very people heavy to go and find the creators that you then reach out to. And then how do you reach out? And that may be another manual process where you have a bunch of people sending emails, sending DMs, or using some sort of a separate old emailing sort of software or mass emailing software for that. Then you have your sheets for your relationship management. Then you have your affiliate software for your affiliate tracking and payments and so on. Then you have some sort of a UGC storage/tracking platform to track when they actually post about you. So it all becomes a mess eventually to manage and becomes very people heavy. So you have to keep hiring people. And obviously that there's vulnerabilities to people, right? People make mistakes, might copy paste the wrong things, might not work, might not get done, right? Versus with a software like Saral, we consolidate literally all of these parts. So from sourcing, finding influencers to contacting them via email, to managing them in a CRM, to sending them an affiliate link, to shipping them a product through your store, to tracking the UGC, to sending the payment. All of that is within one platform. So it consolidates everything in one place about the influencer. All your communications with them are in one place. So that's why it's just better for scale. Once you get to a certain degree, 30, 40, 50 influencers, just get on a platform like Saral to manage it all for you.
Yeah. I'm a Sheets guy. I love it. But to your point, some people look at it and they're like, I hate this sheet. Like,
yeah.
And I get it. There's two different, so what yours provided, it was like, it's a really simple interface. It's drag and drop technology. It interfaces with, all the top, I guess, e-com platforms like Shopify, everything that normal,
WooCommerce, yeah.
yeah, all those WooCommerce, things like that. It's very easy integration and gifting, and it kind of combines everything into one. So like, even though I've bootstrapped it for a long time and I teach bootstrapping for businesses looking to just start influencer marketing, when you're at the point where you have a good portfolio and you're like, this is getting harder to manage and I want to scale more, I want to start to like build more pockets of like this prospect versus this prospect, this becomes very handy and less expensive overall because you're not having to have like 5 or 6 softwares. It's all kind of within one. And it's not having you go and like navigate, oh, I got to go to HubSpot, I got to go here, I got to go there. So I really like the simplification of it. And, you know, I look at partnerships and kind of, well, 4 or 5 phases. If you separate nurturing from outreach, then it's kind of 2 phases. But I look at nurturing and outreach and prospecting within phase 1. So you can prospect with Saral. I really like the prospecting features, how you can do lookalike audiences, affinity brands, see who's mentioning other people. And you can do this, again, manually, but the fact that it's like supercharged in the software is really cool. Second phase for me is the actual onboarding and, you know, like deal making. So again, you're doing all this within the software. You're gifting people. You're organizing like, you know, the threads as far as what you're paying them, and you're keeping up with the, you know, you can basically log in each day, have someone on your team look at it and say, okay, it's like an Asana board or kind of a Monday.com Kanban style left to right column. So that's really easy. And then it's promotion phase 3, which is, again, you're looking at data, you're looking at performance analytics. And then phase 4 for me is the ascension, the scaling, which is the fun part. The ascension is like, it's going well. Let's do more. Let's lock them in for longer term. Let's make better deal structures. Let's get them onto an organic newsletter, evergreen campaigns. And, like, you know, let's now make them super fans to the point that they're recommending friends. And then once you're there, you just keep doing that process. So now, okay, so let's elephant in the room, competitive advantage, obviously price. Like yours compared to others is like there's a night and day difference. What potential features are not included with yours, whether they need it or not? Maybe just separate like, or maybe it's comparable and they're just very overpriced, which is kind of my first assumption, not talking bad about anybody, but I think it's like the wild, wild west out there for pricing right now.
Yeah, I think so. Just to do justice to my my competitors, right? All of these platforms started in 2013, 2015, 2016. Usually back then, it was mostly the bigger, larger brands that were doing influencer marketing. They had $1 million budgets for influencer marketing. For them, paying 50 to 100K for software was, you know, fine because it's a part of their budget. They just do it. Now the market has evolved, and the fact these companies have built their businesses on that model, all of that one, they can't just change it overnight. They can't do months to months. They can't do free trials, right? They're stuck there, and that's fine, right? That's their model, right? And in terms of, to answer your question, so just you know, that's why they're priced that way. It's priced for the old world, but now it's the new world. Now it's every brand wants to be an actual brand, wants to work with their own unique set of influencers or ambassadors, right? And that's the behavior that we want to enable. And I think to enable that, our features are pretty comparable. I'd say one of our main, I don't think we are like competing on technology anymore. I think technology is just like, you can build anything in 6 months. I don't think it's, you know, that complicated. We differentiate with our UX primarily, very simple to use. Onboarding is easy. Like I've had brands that have used competitors, took them like 2 to 3 months to, you know, get onboarded to those platforms. With Saral, they do it in a week. So it's that simple and easy to use because, again, you made a really good point early on about the system being important than the software. And with Saral, essentially what we did was we took the system that we had at the agency with like Notion and Zapier and all these automations, and we turned it into software. So it's almost very like a natural extension. If somebody's already used to the process, they just know, okay, it's like very step-by-step, easy to use. So UX is a differentiator. Business model is a differentiator for us. So we don't do annual contracts. We don't enforce annual contracts. We do have an annual option if somebody wants to opt for it, but we are primarily month to month, and it's a free trial. So anybody could come in, sign up, test it out. If you don't like it, don't pay for it. If you like it, continue paying for it month to month. Pause it anytime you want. If you, you know, for some reason, if you want to pause it in, say, December or something like that. We're very, you know, liberal with those things. Our customer support and success team is really good. They'll follow up with you. They'll make sure that you're getting value out of it, and so on. We're like iterating fast with feedback, which is with these larger competitors can't. So our differentiators are more almost on the software side of things, which really matter nowadays because the features are all there and it's consolidated. So I think a lot of brands are finding value in Saral just being all in one. They don't want to have like 4 or 5 different platforms, one for search, one for outreach, one for tracking, one for reporting and UGC and so on. It's just all in one. So that's also value because it's just consolidating everything. It's the bundling of these like 5 different influencer apps in one. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, competitive advantage, definitely price, simplicity, and education. Like I've watched your videos. You've got a very in-depth tutorial of like, here's what you do first step, second step. And other softwares, I've asked them, like, can I pay you guys to train us? And it's like, we don't actually offer that, but we do, but it's an extra $6K. I'm like, I'm like, how do I get this to work with that? Like, and it was a long learning curve to the point where it's like 2-3 months in, and we're like, actually, we're not getting use out of this. And then there was a whole other thing with APIs going down, and so a whole different story happening there. But you mentioned free trial. Obviously, I'm a fan of Get Saral. And Yash hooked us up with an extra 7-day extension to his usual 7-day trial. So just walk us through how they can find out more about this and what the next steps are.
Yes. So if anybody wants to sign up, they're curious, is we offer a free trial. Just go to getsaral.com, getsaral.com, and sign up for the free trial. Message us, tell us. There's a support chat in the bottom right. Team is pretty active there. Tell us that Joey sent you, that you heard this podcast, and we'll set up we'll do a personalized onboarding with you to make sure that you get value from the platform, and we'll double your trial. So you get 2 weeks of free access, use it, get value from it, and then decide if you want to continue. So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you for doing that for everyone listening today. And it's a free trial. So literally have nothing to lose. Try it out. Go get your hands dirty. Take some tutorials. If anything, you're going to learn a lot from Yash. He's a wealth of knowledge in like, how to handle influencers. Somebody I actually look to as like a knowledgeable guy now. I read your newsletters. You got a great newsletter system as well that I'm part of now. So definitely going to be continuing to do some case studies on the software myself. I've already given Yash some feedback on like some things I'd like, and he's been taking the feedback and improving it, with his team instantly. So that's something else that, as a it's like you guys are not a startup, but you're definitely in the beginning phases of like really ramping this up. Yeah. The features you have are incredible, but the fact that you're insta-acting on things that the customer is asking for is also incredible. So getsaral.com, mention the podcast, get the extra 7-day extension. And man, I'm looking forward to see where the business goes from here on in. We've reached the end of the formal part of the interview. Now we get into the personal side a little bit. I do a quick fire round, of questions. I just like to get to know the person I'm interviewing a little bit more, especially because if we don't have a lot of history, like some people I've known for 10 years, this is a good opportunity for me to, exploit this as far as I can do it. So partner up, profits, power question. This is a question I ask all my guests, and I'm looking to build a playbook on like the top connection strategies on building better relationships, connecting better, or getting your foot in the door, or getting your call answered. Just something like unique. And, some people said Loom videos, some people said personalized gifts. Is there something that you've done that's original or something has been done to you that has got your attention?
Yeah, I've definitely got attention with Loom videos. So I would recommend that. I mean, there's a lot of apps nowadays that are trying to. There's a lot of AI. I don't know. I'm a little bit Ted Kaczynski about this. I'm not necessarily a fan of all the AI doom and gloom in the sales world, especially, like I said, I have a sales background. So definitely got a lot of attention with personalized Loom videos, short 2 to 3 minute video, record a video with their website, be scrappy with it. And I think that is the best way. You could send 50 emails in a week and get, 15 people to get back to you, as opposed to sending, 1,000 emails and getting 2 people to respond because you use some AI thing. So I think avoid using AI, just personalize with Loom videos. I think I have done that, and I continue to do that and get people to respond. So yeah.
Okay. I'm going to push you further though, because I need to get something more unique. So how do you apply it to influencers? Is there a difference in like traditional affiliates versus influencers? Like their attention span smaller, or like through the platform, is there a way to get them to click the link that they trusted? Just anything tactically that you can apply to your particular software maybe?
Yeah. So we're actually hesitant to make an AI first line writer for influencer for this exact reason why we mentioned, but we are getting requests for that. The way I recommend brands do it is they almost bulk personalize their lists. So I recommend running very specific searches on Saral. So on Saral, you can actually search for, let's say, vegan and skincare. and it'll show you vegan people who care about skincare, for example, right? And then you can write a personal line about really appreciate how you take care of your skin while being vegan, or how you prioritize your vegan principles while taking care of your skin, or whatever, right? So write a personal line like that. Now and you can find 50 to 100 creators like this, add them to a list in Saral. Just have this one line that is for that campaign, and it's personal to them, and everybody thinks it's personal to them individually, but you just personalized it for the list because you have a very specific search criteria on Saral. So that's like a quick little hack that we use, is to almost like bulk personalize without actually visiting every single influencer's profile yourself and writing something from their post, because after a point it becomes, because influencers work with scale, and after a point it becomes kind of over optimizing if you personalize too much. So
yeah, got it. Okay. So next is 10 questions. They have nothing to do with business for the most part. And you got to be quick. It has to be the first thing that pops into mind. I'm going to challenge you if I see you thinking, okay?
All right. Okay. Let's do it.
Favorite food?
Butter chicken.
Best memory? First thing that pops up.
I went to train, speaking of MMA, this is what comes. I went to train at the American Kickboxing Academy in Goa. Best month I spent. So yeah.
Nice. Okay, if you had another go around in this world, new lifetime, what else would you be doing if you're starting over?
I would probably just be in business, man. I love business. I don't know what else I could. Maybe athlete, fighter, something like that. But I just like business. Some sort of
Nothing wrong with that. That's good.
Yeah.
It's what you're doing already. What's you love.
Yep.
So okay, for business then, what's a productivity hack you've implemented that's been the best in your business?
Yeah, wake up early. And have focused hours early in the morning, without calls, without messages, email, any of it. I think it's very simple, but it works. So get your most top 2-3 priorities done before 12 noon or something, and then you should be good for, you could piss off for the rest of the day, and nobody cares. So yeah.
Dude, I was so thinking, like, when I started the podcast, is it productivity or is it partnerships? Because I love productivity, and I could talk forever about like those fundamentals, simple things.
Yeah.
You might not want to retire. Most business people don't, because they love what they're doing. But when you're older, in your traditional retirement years, what do you see yourself doing?
Yeah, I haven't thought of it. I don't want to retire, but I see myself. I definitely want to ride horses and fly planes when I have more time. I want to be learning those two things. So yeah,
that's awesome. I love the wide spectrum of things. Do you have a book that changed your life?
Relentless by Tim Grover.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yeah,
I'm going to download that next time.
Yes.
Very philosophical and deep, but what do you want to be remembered for?
Based on the theme we have going right now, I want to be remembered for being a skilled business operator. I want to be able to go into any business. I want to be able to turn it around, analyze it, and do good with it. So, yeah.
Love that. And the point of the podcast is also to turn it back on you, the person being interviewed, because I want people to be able to rhyme these off. These are really important questions that I ask myself. And if there's any you're stumbling with, it's like, oh, you know what? I'm going to think on that a little bit more. So I'm trying to give back as well as learn a little bit. So kind of a selfish thing to do.
Makes
I know.
Sense. Yeah. No, it makes sense. I'm loving the questions.
All right. We have 3 questions left. What's one skill that you'd recommend developing as early on in life as possible?
Self-defense, martial arts. I think more because we live I don't think the probability of you being attacked in the street is pretty low nowadays. But I think the discipline that it gives you is worth everything. So yeah.
I like that, the way you look at it. It's like it's more the discipline rather than like I want to fight people. It's like the discipline transcends to other areas in your life. So that's a good one.
Correct.
Yes. We're meeting back up maybe one day in person or just on Zoom again in a year from today. What are we celebrating?
We are celebrating all the money that the brands have made with their influencer programs on Saral.
Love that one. All right. What's a bucket list item? Something that you've been wanting to do, you've been putting off, but you're like, I got to do that before the end.
I want to learn how to fly a plane.
Fly a plane?
Yes, I want to fly planes.
There you go. Fly planes, riding horses.
Yes.
Many talents. Yash, man, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. Everyone listening, go to getsaral, SARAL.com, get a 14-day trial instead of a 7-day. and you're probably going to love it to the point you're going to want to invest in it. And it's much lower than any other enterprise software out there, and it does everything comparable to it. I've done my homework on this, trust me. My career is making sure that my clients invest properly, and I've got the bootstrappers in my heart and in my mind all the time. So Yash, thank you so much again for coming. Any last words?
No, Joey, I appreciate you having me on. I appreciate the kind words. I appreciate you working with us on making the software better. So, yeah.
Awesome. All right, guys. Hopefully you got a lot from this episode. And as always, check out partnerupprofits.com as well to find out more about how to create the system for the software. But this is definitely my trusted partner for, getting started as a bootstrapper and really getting a lot of use out of something that you're going to save a lot of money and create a system around the software too. So till next time, we'll see you then.